Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host, Simon Conboy. Carrying on with the draft preview series today, going to finish off the AFC South. This episode will be focusing on the Houston Texans. Now, if you've seen one of these episodes before, try and skip ahead about 30-40 seconds or so. If you've not, what I'll be doing is going through the team's major needs heading into next week's draft. It's just a week today now. It comes so quickly. And going through my mock picks for the first couple of rounds, giving suggestions to players that will likely be available, probably be considered at that spot in order to address those needs, as well as some of the others that I haven't got in the primary list. So for the Texans, in terms of primary needs, I've got the quarterback spot, which that's just a given. Everyone's well aware of the issues they've got in the quarterback room there. The cornerback spot, losing AJ Bouye, they do need to find some more options at that position. And also the inside linebacker spot, Brian Cushing, I'm not sure how much he's got left. I feel they could do with an impact backer, improve the athleticism of that group and assist what's already a pretty stout defensive unit. So in terms of the mock draft, my first round mock, I've got the Texans selecting Deshaun Kaiser, the QB from Notre Dame, in order to try and address that position. Now, I did a quarterback quandary episode recently where I think really I wouldn't be too confident if I was Bill O'Brien in any of these rookie quarterbacks in terms of next season. There's a few of them, maybe they'll develop into decent prospects down the line, but I think this franchise really needs to look to bring a veteran option in. My suggestion is still Jay Cutler. Really do think this is going to be one of the QBs. I think Patrick Mahomes would probably be the best option, but I do think he will be gone by this point. His stock seems to have risen exponentially. I think Deshaun Watson's also likely to be off the board. He'd also be a reasonable selection. I think that would be the direction they'd look to go, and honestly I think he's probably the best set to come in and lead a team next season, even if I'm not sure his upside's as high. I think Kaiser and Mahomes to me are the two with the highest upside. So I think really any of the top QBs, whichever one falls them, is likely to be the pick. If there's absolutely no one, or there is someone they've got their eye on later in the draft, possibly like Davis Webb for example, I think they could look to get one of the linebackers like Zach Cunningham or Hassan Reddick. If they're available, I'm not sure that's necessarily likely to be the case, or possibly a corner. Gurion Conley may be available at this point, Tre'Davious White. I think those are the players that would likely be considered. They may even really like one of the safeties like Obi Melifonwu. In the second, I would assume the QB spot will be addressed. If not, they'll look at the options there. Again, I think Davis Webb is the only real option beyond the guys that are being spoke about as potential first rounders. This is where I think they may address the tight end spot, whether it's Gerald Everett. I think that would make some sense. I think Evan Ingram will be off the board by the time they pick. They may have to reach, I think, to get one of the middle backers, a guy like Duke Riley. I think he should be available. I don't know if they could rely on him being available by the time they pick in the third. In the third, to address that spot, I could see Anthony Walker or Eric Wilson being selected. Similar reasons. They just need to find a middle linebacker at some point. There's a lot of options at safety and corner, as I mentioned, multiple times. I can't see a guy like Melifonwu being available. I think he'll slip into late first. Buda Baker, I think, will be someone who will also be off the board by this point. But if he's not, I think he'd be a great pick for them. They're one of the teams that could look into Sidney Jones. They can afford to bring a player along. I think his talent level, if he's there, of course, is incredibly high. Bring him along if he heals up, probably. If not, a guy like Quincy Wilson might be available. Fabio Moreau. It's quite hard to predict. There are so many corners, it will just be a case of who teams like. In round 3, I think they may look at potentially bringing in Jaleel Johnson, a nose tackle. I don't think Vince Wilfork has been adequately replaced. Whether he's going to be a big contributor in this first season, I wouldn't know. A guy like Cordrea Tankersley, perhaps to give him another rusher. As I mentioned earlier, the middle backers, I think this is where a lot of them make sense. Again, Wilson, Walker, The kid from Ohio State, whose name I constantly forget, I think he's also an option. They could even look for a receiver here, a guy like is it Josh Battle? I don't know. There's plenty of receivers. Whether they go with one, I'm not so sure. Josh Reynolds, he could be available. Again, safety guy like Justin Evans, he could be available from select. Josh Malone at receiver again. I think these are the spots that the team will be looking at. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the big story with the Texans, regardless of where they end up going with these late picks, it will be all about the quarterback. There'll be a lot of focus on it. As I say, I'm still a firm believer they should bring in Jay Cutler for the sake of next season. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my assessment of this team's major needs? I think this is a very, very good roster overall. In terms of the offense, you can never have too many linemen. It's always something that they could consider in those early rounds, even if it's not a great draft for them. But yeah, it's going to be all about that quarterback. So I can't. This is a team I discussed again in that episode. I just don't think they've got the ammunition for a trade, and it is one of those I think they could regret in the future. I'm never a big fan of giving up a lot of picks for one particular player, especially in a draft where there are a lot of question marks at this position. So let me know what you guys think, Texans fans. Let me know what guys you hope the team's targeting. How are you hoping they resolve this quarterback situation? Let me know, whether it's in the comments below, Cover Zero Facebook page, find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. I'll do my absolute best to get back in touch with everyone who does attempt to make contact with me. It'll be thoroughly appreciated. If you've enjoyed the show, like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon, all that good stuff. It'll be thoroughly appreciated. Definitely recommend checking out the quarterback quandary episode I did yesterday, focusing specifically on this Texans quarterback situation in a lot more detail, outlining some of the options that are available to them. And yeah, check out all that stuff. Hopefully going to be doing a live stream next week for the draft, so that should be a lot of fun, and I'll be doing that with a couple of my mates who you may get to meet if we're doing our first podcast tomorrow. That's the hope. Hopefully you guys check that out and enjoy that too. So thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure as always, and go Bucks.